Futurama is back, tugging at our heartstrings. A heavy episode that tackles the joy and pain of parenthood. Another thing that is back is Kif and Amy's kids from Kiff Gets Knocked Up a Notch. An episode that promised,
in 20 years they'll sprout legs and crawl back onto land as children.
And though it has been 20 years, 6 months, and 19 days since that episode aired, we are headed back to the swamp to meet with the Grand Midwife.
I am the Grand Midwife.
And see the miracle of birth for a second time. I say Kif and Amy's kids, although Leela technically provided the DNA with a little bit of Scruffy's.
Scruffy stuff gets around.
Don't worry, they spell it out very clearly in the episode for anyone who was maybe too young or too drunk to remember.
I mean, I'm drunk now.
Just don't get too drunk to remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Welcome to the Hip Joint, where Futurama fans get in free. But let's get into the episode, starting with this very odd opening.
You do you, weirdo!
Zoidberg stealing Fry's jacket candy.
Zoidberg, you residue hog!
Prompting Bender to use his often used, rarely successful cooking skills to recreate the candy. I just don't understand why he would brag so much about coming in third on MasterChef Junior. This man beat Elzar in a one-on-one cook-off to the death. Or something.
Oh!
During the cooking process, Bender tells the story of his poor Aunt Juanita drowning in treacle, which is a fancy word for molasses, which is a fancy word for syrup.
Who wants treacle?
Before I get into the main story, I have to mention a few things, starting with the return of a one-off character from 300 Big Boys. And what's with the callbacks to that episode? I know last week's episode didn't make any references to it, that was just me making random connections. But this is the whale biologist, a man I quote fairly regularly.
I don't know you well enough to get into that.
He's moved on from whales.
But I hate whales. Hate them.
And now finds himself as a bear biologist.
Well, then it's good you found an animal you like.
Nope, still looking.
Which he also seems to be pretty bad at. He mostly refers to them as...
They're also stupid, by the way. I discovered that.
Which I have to say, the writers missed a golden opportunity to call them tardy bears. I mean, it was right there.
Oh, shut up, you stupid bear!
But he clearly knows they are tardigrades. This guy is weird. I can clearly see why they attacked him and his communications tower. I just don't think he deserved what Kiff did to him. He may have been an asshole, but he didn't deserve to be ripped apart by tardy bears. Next is the Grand Midwife.
I am the Grand Midwife.
She's only been in 3 episodes and 1 movie.
There, I got most of it.
But every time, she has an absolute presence on screen.
I appreciate your emotional shouting in my ear hole.
Everyone respects and cherishes her wisdom.
Big fan!
Even if it is allowing the animals who were denied their feast when Kiff gave birth to come back and chow down on the kids as they try to make it to shore. She's not above asking for donations or outright demanding payment.
For only a small additional fee.
She drops this line,
In the sense that all children are beautiful.
saying exactly what everyone has been thinking for centuries. The only thing I did find strange, though who am I to question Kiff's species customs? But what was with this challenge thing at the end? It didn't really seem to have anything to do with Leela, and was solved fairly quickly in the
Brutal confines of the Inquisidome.
Save it for the Semantics Dome, E.B. White. Ooh, burn.
I was just glad to have her back. She brought a lot of life to this episode.
Oh, the shame!
But unfortunately, not all returning characters can be as strong as the Grand Midwife.
I am the Grand Midwife.
Because Mr. and Mrs. Wong make a return, but Mr. Wong was not his normal self.
No need. The way they look is burned into my mind.
In the last episode, it was the robot devil that sounded different.
You want it on set!
Which was a little understandable. Dan Castellaneta was not part of the main cast. He only guest voiced as the robot devil for a few episodes. Leo Wong, on the other hand, is voiced by Billy West.
But since you're here, we'll have to do some meddling.
So you'd think he'd be available to do it. I imagine he didn't want to do as many voices as he's done in the past.
Let's get a nice feel to it.
He is 71. Billy West has worked hard for many years.
What's up, Doc?
I don't blame him for a second if he would want to work less.
We're actually on Earth.
This is just something we're going to have to get used to moving forward. Sometimes a returning character may not sound exactly like he used to. Let's just be careful not to use that as a reason to start hating the show. We all fell in love with Futurama for a reason.
Now get back on your turnip trucks and go home!
I will also mention how insanely cruel, but also extremely funny how hard they reject Amy's kids.
Just a kind of little...
Super gross!
They've been begging for grandkids for years, or whatever you want to call it in Futurama time. Now they have them, and they don't want them. And of course, we can't forget about the Zapp Branigan.
Who's the Zapp Branigan?
You can't go wrong when Zapp's on screen, because he is good for pretty much nothing, as per usual, but the one thing he brings every time is a plethora of one-liners.
Little rule known as Branigan's Law.
And here they are in a quick cut.
They can call me Captain Uncle. I have a bit of news to say at you. Over and under. I feel you, soldier. And not in a handsy way this time. Bring a bowl of these candies to my quarters when you're done crying. Oh, no, you willn't. Ow! It looks like the whole planet has psoriasis. Damn it! I'm out of laser. Without delay. But first, it seems they recognize a fellow apex predator. Kiff! Help! Oh, God! They're nuzzling me! Stop licking my velour. It's dry clean only. And stay away from my scrotums. No, Kiff. The dupe never leaves a man behind. Not when I'm the man. I refuse to die groveling. But I'm open to sniveling. Naked Kiff, you saved my life. Eat Kiff, he's boneless.
Petunia makes a quick appearance, as she somehow gets the address right, but the planet wrong.
Could have swore you said Kepler 10b.
And I'm starting to think Nutley might be a metaphor.
Did you say 1015 to Nutley?
Why, yes, I did.
And the phone booth she is in has some interesting background details, including a tag from Flexo, a graffiti Zoidberg, and some alienese that reads ET&T. Zoidberg wasn't used very well in this episode either. Zoidberg's shock factor, that comes from him being disgusting, only works if it's done sparingly. In this episode, he sucks the 1,000-year-old candy off Fry's jacket, eats one of Kif and Amy's kids, and then eats the tails from the kids that did survive.
With a little butter and lemon.
The only other thing he does is make this bad dentists are expensive jokes.
Are you free Friday for an expensive appointment?
But on the contrast, Leela's role in this episode was very interesting, because even though she clearly doesn't remember impregnating Kiff, which if you think about it, wouldn't be too far-fetched. Her and Fry did live for an unspecified amount of time while it was frozen and meanwhile, so for Leela, it's probably more like 80 to 100 years, not 20. But she did handle it very well when Amy breaks down and confronts her, and it was really cute watching her interacting with the kids.
Go, horses, go!
And now on to the kids. They were a great addition to the show.
Ew, she's touching them.
I am curious moving forward if the kids will show back up in the way of Cubert or Dwight, or if we'll ever see them again. I liked how the kids looked different ages, but technically were all the same age.
These three babies are totally different sizes. Question mark.
Something to do with what temperature of water they grew in. They were all so joyful and playful, and I liked Axel's whispering contest.
I lose!
And his teenage boy humor with words like,
Bone.
I appreciated that the episode didn't dive too deep into the kids' personalities, keeping the focus on Kif and Amy's roles as parents and partners. If they do decide to bring them back for later episodes, I could see Axel being involved in a story with Dwight and Cubert.
We're finally making more money than you guys!
One thing this episode gets right is its portrayal of the ups and downs of parenting. It's a tough job, but also incredibly rewarding. I felt for Amy when she saw her kids with Leela and got jealous. Those feelings are real.
Go on, get! Yeah!
When you see someone having fun and laughing with your kids while you can barely stand on 2 feet, it's tough. But Amy is a real G. By never giving up and displaying unwavering love for her children, this side of Futurama makes it one of the best shows ever for me. It's funny, but also hits you with real shit that makes you think about your own parenting experiences or memories of your parents.
I'm the worst mom ever! Except for my own mom!
It's relatable and entertaining at the same time, a perfect blend. And in true Futurama fashion, brings the waterworks. The other side of this parenting is from Kiff. Now, I had mixed feelings going into this episode. I don't typically like Kiff-centered episodes. He's never been a very likable character to me.
Hello.
But he does gain some points with me this episode. And it starts as soon as the kids make it to land. He embraces fatherhood the same way I did when my kids were born. And when faced with his responsibility to his job and family, he manned up and took care of business at work.
I did what a daddy had to do.
While he dropped these great die-hard one-liners.
Daddy's coming to tuck you in to your graves. Did somebody call an exterminator? It's been a blast. I'm a camouflaged killing machine.
All in all, Kiff's growth and newfound sense of responsibility really made this a good episode to watch for me. Also, when did Kiff gain the power to regrow clothing like he does when he rips off his arm to fix the stroller's tire? Because he regrows his uniform sleeve and glove along with his arm. A few miscellaneous funnies worth mentioning are Bender throwing his eyes away to not have to endure watching Kiff give birth again.
And don't describe it to me!
This filthy movie, which is all kinds of ridiculous. Once again, the professor has a PSA for this exact situation, like he always does, and it's a 3D hologram of an old school TV, like a really old school TV, playing a clip from an educational show about how aliens f***. It's wild.
That was pretty hot.
Also, the professor's roll call with his trusty shofar.
Roll call! 4 eyes, 1 eye, crab man, can man, who cares?
Dropping some very clever nicknames. Speaking of names, Kiff can't remember his youngest kid's name.
This one's for Axel, Mandy, and a little what's-his-name.
Which is cool, his kid doesn't remember him either.
I don't remember him.
And what's with Amy and the kid's excessive crying when Kiff leaves? Also, why does Kiff leave his glove and boots on when he goes into camo mode? And why does he even go into camo mode at all? The Tardy Bears don't have eyes. And the last two come from the Grand Midwife. The challenging challenge is great.
Dating from when our language had few words.
And her.
Oops, that wasn't supposed to happen. Cheap, lousy wall.
She's such a delight.
I am the Grand Midwife.
There's one last thing I want to mention before I end the video. The candies. What was the deal with the candies? It was such a random way to start the episode, and then to have that one random thing be the basis for making this honey candy. And then the only real purpose it serves narratively is to be the reason Zapp gets captured by the bears.
Help!
And to show us why Zapp was getting his chest waxed in the trailer, I guess.
That's an order. Auga!
I liken it to Torgo's executive powder from Bender's Big Score, but honestly, that fit into the story better, being it was made from ground-up Fox executives. But this candy was very strange to me. The episode needed a B-plot, and this is what they went with. It's fine, and there were some funny moments, but I don't know, it just felt so random. Even more so than the Slurm Zero commercial, which, get ready, I'll be trying to find a way to talk about that commercial in every video moving forward, just to give me a reason to play it again.
Slurm Zero! None of the flavor, all of the addiction! Women wear wazzle!
And next week's episode is how the West was 101-0001, which I am particularly looking forward to. So like and subscribe and turn on notifications to know when my breakdown of that episode drops.